Good morning, class. I hope you've all had a good weekend and doing well with the quarantine and studying at home. Today we're going to look at test 5 of our KET practice, and we're going to look at speaking part 2. So in part 2 you have 2 pages that are questions which are written here, so cooking classes and cycling race. And for each one you also have the answers to these questions. You have a page of information that has the answers on the pages. So what we're going to do is I'm going to read the correct questions that need to be asked for each of these. So these are just hints. So for teenagers, for example, the question is, are the cooking classes for teenagers? That's the whole question. What I'm going to do is give the answers to these verbally or orally, and then I want you at home to write down the question as I've said it to practice, okay? Because I don't want to give you all the answers, and that will make it too easy. After this, I'll read out the questions in speaking part 1, to practice. So, let's look at cooking classes. So it says for teenagers. Try to think for a moment when it says for teenagers, when, what, cook, cost, and where. Try to think to yourself what the potential entire questions or what the answers may be. And one clue, because it says cooking classes, is classes plural or singular? It's plural. So we always must ask the questions in plural form, not singular. So think, do we use are or is? We use are. So, are the cooking classes for teenagers? When are the classes, or when are they? We can say they because it's plural and we've already established that they are cooking classes. What cook? The question is, what can we learn to cook, or what will we learn to cook? Make sure that pause the video if you need to and write down the full question as you've heard me say it. Cost. So, how much do they cost? Okay, we say they because it's plural. If we say how much does it cost, it would imply that there's only one class. Or how much do the cooking classes cost? Okay. If we want to ask the question without saying the name of it, we can say how much do they cost, or we can say how much do the cooking classes cost. Where? We don't say where is it. Okay, that would only be if it was singular. So it's where are the classes, or where are they? Okay, are because it's plural. So I'll give you a moment or pause the video to finish writing the full sentences, and then try to look at the piece of information about the cooking classes and try to answer the questions as well in full sentences. For example, it says, are they for teenagers, or are the cooking classes for teenagers? If you look in your book at the answer sheet, it says all ages welcome. So the answer would be the cooking classes welcome all ages, or simply all ages are welcome, whatever you prefer. but we must make sure that we answer the questions in full sentences. So here the question was, how much do they cost? The answer would be, all the classes are free. Okay, so you need to look in your book for the answers to each question. Okay, looking at the cycling race now. Think, is it plural or singular? Cycling race. I would say singular, not plural. So we need to make sure we ask the questions in singular form, not plural. So the first one, who for? Would we say who are they for, or who is it for? Because it's singular, it is who is it for? And the it is the race. Or we could say, who is the race for? Okay. Book, place. This book doesn't mean a book that you read. It means to book a position, to let's say if you want to go to a restaurant and it's a very fancy restaurant, you need to call and book your seat. It means to reserve your position or your seat. Okay? So when it says book place, it means reserve place. Place doesn't mean a physical place, it means position. Okay? Your position in the race. So, do we need to reserve our position is what it's asking. Book place. So the question is, do I need to book a place, or do I need to book my place? Next one, how far? This is asking how much distance is the race. So how far is it? Or how far is the race? When start? When does it start? Okay, it, because it's singular. When does it start? Or when does the race start? Where meet? Where do we meet? Or where do we meet, sorry. Where do we meet is a better question. So it's where do we meet for the race? Okay. Now, let's look at an example of a question and I'll try and see an answer in the book. So here it says, the question was, how far is the race? Or how far is it? The answer would be, if we look in our book, it is a 20-kilometer race. Okay. Or when we look at when does it start, remember, why do we say does and not do? Does, we use does when it's third person. He, she, or it. Okay? The cycling race is it. So when does it start, not when do it start. So the answer to this, if we look in our cycling race piece of information, it says the race starts at 2:15 p.m. Okay? So make sure that you write the questions fully and that you also answer the questions in full sentences with as much information as possible. Okay? Now, that's speaking part 2. I'm going to read speaking part 1, and what I want you to do, actually I'll turn this over so it doesn't distract you. Speaking part 1, after I ask each question, I want you to pause the video and answer out loud, orally, your answer to the question. Okay, to practice. So question 1. What's your name? And what's your surname? How do you spell that? Where are you from? What are your studies, or what do you study? Are you a student? What do you study? You can ignore my previous question about what are your studies. I misread the book. Do you like your studies? Do you study English at school? What other subjects do you study? Do you like your school? What is your favorite subject? What kind of books or magazines do you like reading? How often do you read? What are you reading at the moment? Tell me something about your favorite book or magazine. Okay, hopefully those questions weren't too difficult for you and you paused the video after each question and try to answer it as best you can. Remember, these questions are in speaking part 1 of test 5. I think Sergio will send you the page picture as well, so you can read the questions as I read them out, if you find that helps your learning as well. Good luck.